All right, good afternoon, His Excellency, Silahkan Berlangganan, the DSG of ASEAN, distinguished members of the media from all ASEAN member states. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to convey my appreciation for all parties, particularly our colleagues from Kementerian Perdagangan that have made this event possible. Indonesia held the 55th IAM meeting in various meetings in Semarang to promote the diversity, culture, and potential this city can offer to the Southeast Asian regions. We organized preparatory CEO meeting, 19 ministerial meetings, 9 side events, and gala dinner at Sampokong. 17 ministers, 7 vice ministers, the Secretary General of ASEAN, including senior officials and their delegations, from the ASEAN member states, Timor-Leste, ASEAN Dialogue and Strategic Partners, international business associations, and international organizations. So in total, the delegates, 603, attended this meeting. From 7 ASEAN's priority economic deliverables, the PED during Indonesia's chairmanship have been fully endorsed and finalized, namely, number 1, the conclusion of the negotiation of the ASEAN Services Facilitation Framework, ASFF. Second, the endorsement of leader statement on the development of the Digital Economic Framework Agreement, DEFA. Third, the signing of the second protocol to amend the AANZ FTA, Australia-New Zealand FTA, signed on 21st of August 2023. Fourth, the endorsement of the Ministerial Declaration on the ASEAN Industrial Project-Based Initiative. And number 5, in terms of reference, to establish an RCEP support unit, RSU, within the ASEAN Secretariat in 2024. 2 of remaining PED will be fully implemented by the end of this year, namely full implementation of EFORM through ASW, ASEAN Single Window, and Roadmap of ASEAN Harmonized Standards to support Sustainable Development Goals. Other outcomes from 55th IAM, including, first, the signing of 4 MRAs to facilitate trade in goods in ASEAN in several sectors. Second, the signing of MOU within ASEAN and the World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, and the launch of IP Register. Number 3, the announcement of the finalization of the first protocol to amend the HAKFTA. And other than that, 9 side events have been successfully conducted. Among others, the launch of the new ASEAN Tariff Finder, the physical launch of the ASEAN Online Sale Day, and the launch of SME exhibition. His Excellency, Mr. Silahkan Berlangganan, Mr. DSG, you may take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Dr. Jerry Samboga, the Vice Minister of Trade. What can I say after what Minister just described? It's been an incredible week in Semarang for the ASEAN fraternity. And a big thank you, a big congratulations go particularly to the Ministry of Trade under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Zulkifli Hasan and his entire leadership led by Deputy Ministers and all the leaders and all the teams of the Ministry of Trade for a very successful conduct of the chairmanship of the AEM and many of the related meetings. We'd like to acknowledge the leadership of Indonesia that has demonstrated, particularly in advancing a very forward-looking agenda that contributes significantly in deepening our economic integration. It really is manifested by the many of the announcements that Minister just have shared with you. I really want to say that this year was a big win. It's been a big win for digital transformation. It has been a big win for sustainability and the decarbonization agenda for ASEAN. It has also been a very big win for the development and promotion of SMEs in ASEAN. Let me just take you through very briefly into the big wins. For digital transformation, Minister just said that ministers have endorsed the study and also has given the go-ahead for negotiators to start negotiating the Digital Economic Framework Agreement, DEFA, for the ASEAN. Now this is going to be an agreement that's going to be legally binding amongst the 10 ASEAN countries that is going to bring the digital economy integrated in a much more stronger way. It's going to be a comprehensive agreement, not just covering movement of data, payments, but it's going to touch cybersecurity, even e-commerce. So we are very proud of where ASEAN leaders have been able to bring this agreement to come together, and we will really hope the negotiators will work hard to give us a strong DEFA agreement in the coming years. The second win is really in the area of sustainability. ASEAN already has circular economy frameworks in place last year. This year, we are truly very fortunate that during the AEM, the ministers have also endorsed the ASEAN Carbon Neutral Plan. Now, this is a plan that's dedicated towards bringing together, designing a credible, structured pathway that will accelerate our entire region's journey towards transiting to a low-carbon future. Now, this strategy is a complementary strategy on top of each of the national NDP plans of the 10 ASEAN member countries. It's a complementary strategy that highlights 16 key priority areas where ASEAN is telling the world that this is what we are going to be pushing and resourcing ourselves as a region as we move towards decarbonization. So this is a significant piece of support work that ASEAN has created in order to help each of the 10 ASEAN member states in their decarbonization journey, obviously led by Indonesia leadership. The third area that I want to share about is really about SMEs wins. This is a year where SMEs are getting a lot of tools for them to be able to grow, not just within domestically, but also to grow internationally. One of the biggest things that we have done this year is, of course, the coming together of many economic agreements. The RCEP agreement is in full ratification. All 15 members of RCEP, the biggest FTA in the world, have their agreement in place. The ASEAN team is also working very hard to upgrade our ATIGA agreement. This is the FTA within the 10 ASEAN member states. We have also done substantial work this year. There was an update given to the ministers how the SME chapters have been done effectively this year. Now, on top of that, in order to navigate how to use FTAs, ASEAN has many FTAs today. Under the leadership of Indonesia, we have launched the ASEAN Tariff Finder tool. This is going to be a live tool available on the smartphones for all businesses in ASEAN, where businesses will be able to now navigate, help themselves of how do you use the various free trade agreements to the best of ability as you are importing and exporting your products. This has always been one of the gripes of businessmen, and I think this is going to be a fundamental important gift under the Indonesian chairmanship to the private sector of ASEAN. We are very pleased with that. Now, on top of that, together with WIPO, right, the Intellectual Property Organization, the ASEAN fraternity have also signed MOUs, and part of the cooperation this year, we also launched under Indonesia's leadership the ASEAN Intellectual Property Register. Again, it's going to be a wonderful platform for businesses to be able to go to a one space, one platform, when you are actually looking for IP registration, trademarks, covering all of the 10 countries. Many global companies are complaining to us, it's so difficult to navigate 10 countries. This is going to be the one stop of IP register available for SMEs. So I think with that, Minister, I just want to once again congratulate the good work, the wonderful support of the Indonesian government, the people, the community that everybody has given to the ASEAN fraternity, especially to the AEM meetings that took place this year, that really are going to be a big impact to our entire ASEAN community. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Pak. Now we will proceed to Q&A sessions, and we have collected questions with an online form. In my hand is a long list of questions, and we will read it out loud. The first question is actually in Indonesian, so you can answer in Indonesian also. Pertanyaan ini dari Ilyas Fadilah dari Detikcom untuk Pak Wakil Menteri Perdagangan. This is for Mr. Vice President. Dalam IM 55, sejauh mana pembahasan negara-negara ASEAN terkait penggunaan mata uang lokal atau local currency settlement dalam perdagangan internasional? Dan kaitannya adalah negara mana yang sudah menyatakan komitmennya dengan Indonesia dalam kerjasama ini, dan benefit apa yang bisa didapat jika kerjasama local currency settlement diperluas bagi negara-negara ASEAN. Silakan Pak Jerry.
Terima kasih. I speak in bahasa Indonesia ya. Baik, terkait dengan LCS, Local Currency Settlement, ini perlu disampaikan bahwa dalam forum tadi ini kita banyak fokus ke perdagangan dan juga banyak fokus ke pengembangan kerjasama di tingkat regional dan juga bilateral, yang memang kalau dalam hal ini fokusnya, kalau untuk keuangan biasanya itu di bawah pertemuan ASEAN Finance Minister Meeting, ya, itu forum khusus yang biasanya akan dibahas dalam forum-forum itu, dan itu adalah juga bekerja sama dengan ASEAN Finance Minister dan Central Bank atau Governors Meeting. Jadi antara gubernur-gubernur bank sentral dengan kementerian menteri-menteri keuangan di ASEAN. Kalau tadi itu lebih banyak fokus ke perdagangan dan bagaimana peningkatan hubungan dalam skop bilateral dan juga dalam skop regional. Jadi mungkin nanti ada sesi khusus ya, di mana nanti akan ada pertemuan-pertemuan yang akan mungkin membahas secara lebih spesifik dan lebih teknis terkait dengan penerapan dan juga pemberlakuan local currency settlement. Cuman yang ingin saya sampaikan adalah ini semangatnya adalah bagaimana kita ingin memastikan, mendorong dan juga memberlakukan dan juga tentunya memotivasi negara-negara di dalam ASEAN untuk menggunakan local currency. Nah ini mungkin sudah beberapa kali teman-teman media sudah mengetahui dalam beberapa kesempatan ya. Ini Indonesia dan juga beberapa negara ASEAN, contohnya, konkretnya, ini kita sudah kerjasama dengan beberapa bank sentral di negara ASEAN, dari BI di Indonesia dan juga dari bank-bank di beberapa bank di negara ASEAN, di Thailand waktu itu. Mungkin teman-teman sudah tahu, sekarang kita kalau pergi ke Thailand, orang Thailand pergi ke kita, orang Jakarta, Semarang pergi ke Bangkok, Bangkok pergi ke Semarang atau ke Jakarta, kalau kita mau bayar transaksi, beli sesuatu dari merchant, dari toko, ya itu kita bisa menggunakan KRIS, Quick Response Indonesian Code Standard. Itu kita kerjasama antara Bank Indonesia dengan bank-bank sentral di negara-negara tersebut. Nah ini sekali lagi mendorong penggunaan mata uang lokal masing-masing. Nah, itu sangat praktis ya. Jadi nanti teman-teman media coba tes kalau ke Bangkok, beli barang di sana, scan nggak sampai 3 detik langsung automatically convert ke mata uang lokal setempat. Jadi ini mendorong untuk penggunaan mata uang masing-masing ya, sehingga itu bisa sekali lagi bisa memaksimalkan nilai daripada currency lokal di masing-masing negara. Dan ini bukan cuma di Thailand, tapi juga udah dites akan nanti kedepannya di Malaysia dan juga di Singapura, dan kami berharap ini juga akan semakin berkembang sekali lagi untuk mendorong penguatan dan juga mendorong nilai dan juga pemberlakuan dari mata uang lokal masing-masing ya. Jadi itu untuk jawabannya saya kira.
Thank you Pak. And the next question is addressed to Pak Satwinder. This is from Sigit from TVRI. The question is, how long will it take to make ASEAN electric vehicle ecosystem into ASEAN regional realistic business benefits? And the second question is carbon trading within the ASEAN area will be the tool to strengthen the trade to EU?
Let me take the first question, which is on the EV, and I think it's a very valid question. How long would it take for the region to be able to be fully being able to adapt the EV ecosystem in all of the member states? I mean, clearly this year is a very important year where Indonesia is bringing forth the ASEAN EV ecosystem development in a very big way. That has never happened as big as it's happening under the chairmanship of Indonesia. In fact, it's going to be one of the statements that are going to be declared by leaders come during the ASEAN Leaders Summit in September. So do look out for that. But clearly, what you're going to see is a momentum created from that statement from leaders. Hopefully that's going to push the region. The region is not sleeping on its laurels. A lot is happening on the ground in many of the member states in order to look into the sort of the initial planning, the investments that are needed in the EV development. But clearly for me, the time frame it will take us to do this transformation, it is not going to be overnight. Work has started, but with the momentum that you're seeing this year, that's going to come with the leader's statement, we believe that there's going to be quite a very strong momentum forward. But it's clearly one thing coming out from most of the discussions we're having today is it's a momentum that's not just about governments doing the right thing, but it also requires a lot of private sector transition, a lot of private sector co-investment with government in order to make the changes. What we are also doing at the ASEAN level is we are working very hard to harmonize many of the interoperable issues that involve in EV, especially for the transport sector. What we don't want EV cars traveling from, for example, from Thailand to Laos, halfway your car doesn't work because the whole network doesn't talk to each other. I think we are trying to harmonize those rules. We are trying to create as much as the bigger, larger ecosystem so that it all is interoperable in an effective way. All right. So that's on the EV side. It will take us a while. I suspect that some countries are more advanced than others, but I believe that in the next 5 years, you're going to see a very significant change in not only from governments doing what they need to do, and the regional organizations and private sector investors coming together to invest, but you're going to see very strong interest coming from consumers of ASEAN themselves who want to drive EV vehicles. I think that's going to be fundamentally one of the largest push towards the transformation. Now let me touch a little bit on the carbon markets and also the reality about carbon credits and carbon markets in the region. I think this has been one of the clear strategies that's been highlighted under the ASEAN Carbon Neutral Plan. One of the 16 big strategies is for us as a region to work together to sort of get all of us, the 10 countries, to be able to adopt the best of practices on the global context that will be in setting up of carbon tax systems in each of our countries, and also exchanges that could actually help to actually facilitate the building of liquidity for carbon credits in the region. So we are, as part of the efforts of the Carbon Neutral Plan, the idea is to try to harmonize so that projects that are germinating, carbon projects that are germinating in our region are able to tap domestic markets, but more importantly, some of these projects can also be able to tap on financial liquidity that's available outside within ASEAN or even outside globally. Because one thing is very clear, in all of our transformation of our carbon neutral journey, it requires a lot of capital. And I can tell you, no one country in ASEAN is able to manage it by themselves. We need capital coming not only from the region into our countries, but we need capital from all over the world supporting us. And this is why we want to build rules, regulations that hopefully can help all of ASEAN to be able to adapt and adopt that liquidity that's required. Now, clearly to access the European market, which already has adopted the cross-border carbon mechanism, clearly one of the things that we need to show in the ASEAN member states is our ability to have carbon tax in each of our member states. Now the good news is, I believe Indonesia has started the journey. In fact, way back in 2021, you have started already, and you are in the journey towards maturing it. Minister can say more about it, but clearly Indonesia has been brave enough to get into it, and I believe more countries in ASEAN will do so again. Thank you very much. Minister, you want to add a bit on Indonesia's journey?
Terima kasih. Mungkin saya tambahkan sekaligus menjawab, ini kalau ada yang lain silakan tanya langsung biar saya jawab sekalian. Karena yang kedua.
Dari antara Pak, dari rangkaian pertemuan yang
mana yang paling penting? Udah, saya udah tahu. Itu kan kira-kira menanyakan. Sekaligus melanjutkan tadi apa yang Pak DSG juga sampaikan. Jadi begini, pertemuan EM55 ini sangat membawa manfaat dan sangat membawa hasil atau deliverables yang sangat signifikan. Prioritas capaian ekonomi kita, PID kita yang berpengaruh langsung kepada food security dan juga perubahan iklim. Saya sebut langsung, saya kutip satu, ASEAN Leaders Declaration on Strengthening Food Security. Kedua, Development of the Electric Vehicles, tadi yang Pak Dias baru sampaikan, Ecosystem and Development of ASEAN Blue Economy. Dan yang ketiga, Framework Declaration on Sustainable Energy Security through Interconnectivity and Market Integration. Nah, ini Bapak Ibu sekalian, kawan-kawan media, ini menunjukkan bahwa komitmen ASEAN terhadap ya apa yang menjadi prioritas selama ini, mulai dari clean energy, green economy, lalu juga tentunya digitalisasi, sustainability, dan tentunya sesuatu yang hal yang sifatnya ramah dengan lingkungan, dan semuanya itu di develop dan juga dirumuskan dan juga diformulasikan dan juga diimplementasikan dalam sebuah semangat yang kolektif di forum-forum ASEAN. Nah, kita bisa melihat langsung bagaimana komitmen negara-negara ASEAN termasuk Indonesia. Contohnya tadi seperti electric vehicles, bagaimana kita mendorong penggunaan, implementasi, dan tentunya kita juga memotivasi dan memberikan semacam sosialisasi pentingnya terkait dengan hal-hal atau kebijakan-kebijakan yang pro lingkungan, yang ramah lingkungan, yang berkaitan dengan green economy dan juga blue energy. Nah, oleh karena itu saya pikir itu juga sudah menjadi komitmen kita sebelumnya, di mana khususnya terkait dengan EV, electronic vehicles, itu sudah dideklarasikan oleh pimpinan ASEAN pada bulan Mei yang lalu di Labuan Bajo, di mana para pimpinan-pemimpin kita di ASEAN komitmen untuk mensupport terwujudnya ekosistem ya dari kendaraan listrik. Dan saya harap ini kedepannya tidak hanya dari ASEAN, tetapi juga negara-negara lain juga akan melakukan hal yang sama, memberikan dukungan yang tentunya akan semakin memperluas ya penggunaan dan juga definisi terhadap apa yang namanya pro lingkungan. Nah, mungkin saya tambahkan sedikit kalau ada pertanyaan tadi soal Uni Eropa, betul ya? Coba mungkin ditanyakan dulu biar teman-teman media juga.
Bagaimana respon Ibu terkait sikap Indonesia, Chairman ASEAN yang menyuarakan keadilan dan kesetaraan dalam perdagangan bebas saat pertemuan konsultatif IMF, Pak? Ya,
saya pikir bagus ya Uni Eropa itu menyuarakan keadilan dan kesetaraan. Yang penting adalah konsistensi. Mereka juga konsisten. Kita selalu menegakkan dan juga mengadvokasi dan juga percaya yakin bahwa memang kesetaraan dan keadilan adalah prinsip yang harus diletakkan dalam perdagangan, dan saya harap demikian juga dilakukan oleh Uni Eropa terhadap standar-standar keberimbangan, terhadap standar-standar keadilan, terhadap standar-standar persamaan ya, equality dan juga fairness, itu juga harus diterapkan dengan standar yang tidak bias ya. Ketika kita menerapkan sebuah kesetaraan, keseimbangan dan keadilan tidak boleh bias ya. Dan ini harus mendapatkan pemahaman yang sama, yang objektif ya. Tidak bisa klaim-klaim sepihak, tidak bisa klaim-klaim yang hanya dilakukan oleh negara-negara tertentu. Oleh karena itu saya berharap ya, tentunya dengan ASEAN meeting ini, Economic Minister meeting ini, di mana kemarin Uni Eropa juga sudah bersama-sama juga menyaksikan dan melihat komitmen kita, Indonesia termasuk dan juga tentunya negara ASEAN. Mereka tentunya semakin mengerti dan semakin melihat komitmen kita terhadap perdagangan yang berprinsip kepada keadilan dan juga kesetaraan. Nah, oleh karena itu sekali lagi kita minta konsistensi. Kita selalu komit, kita selalu konsisten, kita selalu yakin dan percaya bahwa yang namanya perdagangan yang bertumpu kepada konstelasi politik global itu harus disetarakan, diletakkan pada kondisi objektif. Nah, oleh karena itu saya yakin dan saya juga mengajak kolega-kolega kita di Eropa untuk melakukan hal yang sama.
Pertama, berapa target nilai ekspor dalam USD ke Australia pada 2023 dan 2024, Pak? Dan satu lagi, dengan situasi geopolitik dan perekonomian saat ini, bagaimana peluang ekspor Indonesia ke negara-negara anggota ASEAN, Pak?
Ya, tadi yang pertama ke Australia. Baik. Kemarin saya melakukan pertemuan bilateral dengan tim WOTS, ya, Wakil Menteri Perdagangan Australia, dan kami banyak melakukan pembahasan dan juga tentunya peningkatan kerjasama perdagangan yang tentunya dari sisi Indonesia mengharapkan peningkatan ekspor. Data yang kami terima itu di tahun 2023 target nilai ekspor kita itu 3,37 miliar US dollar. Sementara tahun 2024 nanti akan kami assess dan kami hitung, yang tentunya kita berharap semakin meningkat. Dan oleh karena itu kita berharap semua produk-produk yang selama ini diekspor, apalagi dengan Australia kita sudah ada Indonesia Australia SEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, di mana salah satu benefitnya hampir mencapai 7.000 produk. Barang-barang kita masuk ke sana itu tidak dikenakan biaya masuk. Nah, ini saya pikir bisa dimanfaatkan oleh pelaku-pelaku usaha, pelaku-pelaku kita, eksportir kita, dan juga tentunya para pelaku UMKM ya. Dan saya pikir ini yang menjadi salah satu prioritas kita. UMKM harus kita galakkan. Saya senang di sini ada booth-booth UMKM. Saya sarankan teman-teman media nanti juga beli juga produk-produk UMKM ya, karena itu mendukung juga apa yang kita sedang genjot, produksi, peningkatan produksi UMKM di dalam negeri. Contoh konkret, saya hari ini pakai kacamata, ini kacamata UMKM, Pak. Ya, teman-teman media bisa lihat, ini kacamata dari Bali, produk karya anak bangsa, made in Indonesia 100%. Jam tangan yang saya pakai ini, yang warna kuning ini ya, yang warna kuning saya ulangi, ini bisa ini kategorinya UMKM, produk ekspor, made in Indonesia 100%. Sepatu yang saya pakai juga sama, made in Indonesia 100%. Jas juga sama, kainnya juga dari lokal, saya jahit ya. Jadi atas sampai bawah produk lokal, komitmen kita kepada UMKM, komitmen kita kepada produk-produk karya anak bangsa. Jadi sekali lagi ini adalah salah satu contoh konkret yang kita lakukan, tidak cuma slogan, tidak cuma awang-awang, tapi memang kita praktikkan sehari-hari. Lalu soal yang ekspor RCEP ya pertanyaannya. Ini pertanyaan terakhir mungkin, peluang ekspor masuk negara-negara ASEAN untuk gimana produk-produk kita bisa meranjai di teman-teman di negara-negara di ASEAN. Ini data yang kami terima, ekspor non-migas Indonesia ke 14 negara ASEAN selama 5 tahun terakhir, trennya positif 20,09%, 2022 totalnya itu mewakili kawasan ASEAN itu 56,02% yang non-migas. Total ekspor kita itu 154,61 miliar US dollar. Jadi artinya, Bapak Ibu sekalian, kawan-kawan, ini adalah sebuah tren yang signifikan, sebuah kondisi di mana kita juga selalu memprioritaskan ekspor, dan dengan semua kerjasama, dengan semua kesepakatan, dengan semua rencana, dengan semua hal-hal yang kita rumuskan dan kita putuskan dalam forum-forum ASEAN, saya yakin dan percaya akan semakin meningkatkan produk-produk kita untuk bisa diekspor ke negara-negara ASEAN.
Thank you Pak Jerry.
Cocok?
Done for you. Now to Mr. Satminder, one question for you: what is the beneficial of RCEP for ASEAN?
Thank you. I did share with all of you on the RCEP, which is the largest FTA, which is ASEAN-led. I think there's a big mistake out there. People think that RCEP is led by some other power out there, but people don't realize. And I think the media needs to do the re-education of people out there that RCEP is the product led by ASEAN member states. The ASEAN fraternity is the one that have created RCEP, and then they brought in all of the large trading partners of ASEAN to join RCEP. And of course, besides the 10 countries of ASEAN, we also have the important trading partners of Japan, ROK, including of course China, Australia and New Zealand. Now the good news is, okay, what are the benefits? Okay, as you all know, we already have our own ASEAN ATIGA FTA, right? It's a goods agreement. Basically, it's generally a goods agreement, and we also have the ASEAN Plus agreements with all of these 5 additional members of part of the ATIGA. But within RCEP, we were able to expand the agreement to include many other aspects, including services, including intellectual property, including specific chapters on MSMEs, right? And including things like, even for the first time, we have touched things that we've never touched before in our regular FTAs. So RCEP is a very comprehensive FTA that's not just touching on goods, it touches on other aspects of trade flows, including services and other things, including investments, IP and other things. Now, the good news is the benefits we are really beginning to see. You know, I asked my team this year before we came here, I said, can you please just, because it's too early, it's only the second year since the start of RCEP, and we just fully ratified the agreement with all the 15 members. So we just wanted to get some basic ideas of trade flows within the 15 countries. Now the good news we've got is that the trade flows of the RCEP participating countries, they have increased. In 2021, it was $5.7 trillion in US, and last year in 2022, that has grown to $6.2 trillion. But what I believe is that in the next 3 to 5 years, we are going to see a very large scale reorganization of manufacturing coming from many of our partners of RCEP, meaning to say the large companies that are now located in Japan, in China, as well as in Korea, Australia, they all are looking to reorganize how they want to do manufacturing. No longer the concept of taking resources from ASEAN and then processing it in China. That kind of a business model is no longer relevant in the decarbonized needs of the new mechanism for industrialization that's required for decarbonization. So therefore, all large companies in the world are rethinking how they want to reorganize their supply chain, and this is where I see ASEAN as a bloc is going to be the biggest winner. We are going to win very effectively because we are where the resources are, but we are also where we are connected effectively, seamlessly to many of these large superpowers that are in global business and who also manage a lot of these industrial value chains. So we want to see our future where many more of the global industrial chains nicely developed, the full value chain developed in our economies, but we also want those value chains to be decarbonized, meaning to say they must also follow sustainable rules, so that we benefit our future and we are able to be relevant to the world.